Welcome back to the Remedial Film Class Podcast. I'm your host, Dan.
And I'm Ben Tramer.
And I'm George.
George,
Sir.
can I get a little bit of finger therapy from you real quick?
Who therapy?
I spent a lot of time playing Civilization today, and just like Bud, my fingers hurt. We watched Halloween 2, the 1981 classic written by John Carpenter, sort of, and not quite directed by him. George.
Yes, sir.
You watched Halloween 2 just now. What is your initial impression?
Yeah, it was some good, some not so good. It was all right.
It was a movie.
It was a movie. I took some notes.
Ooh, notes.
So
Should
did
we
I.
jump right into the notes then, George?
If you'd like, yeah.
Hit me with your best shot. Fire away.
Let me pull up my notes on my phone.
We're going to get a copyright strike for that, but that's okay.
Nah, you'll
The
be fine.
pull up my notes on my phone song. It's a classic.
Pull up my what? Halloween 2. Okay, so first of all, backstory. I was assigned homework.
Yes.
First Halloween I had to watch at some point before watching this. So I did kind of. I
Partial
watched
credit.
most of it like the night before I fell asleep while I was watching it.
But then
So-
you got the recap at the beginning of this one.
Well, here's the thing. Before I watched Halloween 2 tonight, I watched the last 20 minutes of Halloween 1
Gotcha.
in preparation, just like, the whole meat of
Mhm.
the first one I watched again, and then I pop in the second one, and it's the same thing again, which was cool. I like how they continue exactly from where they left off. That was cool. Okay. All right, first thing. The imprint of Michael Myers' body on the lawn was kind of corny, right?
Yeah.
And
like
it's,
you couldn't couldn't
totally Mandela'd in there. Like, that's not in the first movie. It's a
Yeah.
new thing.
And it's been there for 3 years, which is crazy. But it's supposed to be the same night. they filmed it like 2.5 years later.
Oh, like actually physically. Oh yeah. No, yeah. So I'm thinking what would have been cool is maybe like instead of like a smushed body in the grass like shape.
Mm-hmm.
Just like zooming back and forth between Loomis's view from the balcony,
Right,
and Loomis down on the lawn, but you see him from the balcony, from the same view. So
Right.
like just simple as that, like boom, he's there, boom, Loomis is downstairs and he's not there. Like just like the same kind of camera angle would have done the same thing and be a lot less corny.
Or just show the grass without the indentation, and we'll be fine.
Yeah,
you,
but like
you mean the
you could-
exact shot they already had from the last movie that they could have just played again? Yeah, why didn't they do that?
well, did they have a shot with Loomis downstairs but from above, from the balcony? Like Loomis down on the front
No.
lawn.
This is how
No,
you
he
fix
looks
it.
out the
You
top.
do what you did. You have the view from the balcony. He sees him laying there. Then he turns back and he's not there. Then have him come downstairs. Look again. Don't have the indentation. But yes, have blood there. So when he puts his hand to the spot, he pulls his hand up and there's blood on it.
There you go.
So
Maybe.
just the indentation, it bothered me back in 85 when I saw it for the first time. And yeah, today.
I don't know that I really want the blood there, but we'll probably get into that eventually.
Well, they establish even like 5 minutes later that he's bleeding because when he grabs the kitchen knife, he's bleeding all over her ham sandwich.
Oh yeah, no, and it sucks. I think, but that's my
Right.
problem with it. George, did you notice the most infamous moment of this movie? 7 shots heard round the world. Did you notice that?
No.
They goof up on the cut, and what's ridiculous is, in editing, it would have been so easy to catch that there's they chose to put it in there maybe just to screw with us, but there's 7 shots. And then he's like, oh, I shot him 6 times, right? And it's like, well, actually, if you were counting.
I know what you're thinking.
I didn't notice that, and normally that is something that I would notice. Right.
Yeah, that would have been in George's notes.
Yeah, definitely.
I think you were just overwhelmed by Mr. Sandman.
That first, I love that song, by the way. That first scene, which is the same as the end scene of the last one, right? Was there 7 shots in the last one too?
Nope.
That wasn't the exact same footage?
No, because actually, if you notice, one of the great
show it from a different angle.
Trivia things, when he comes off the balcony, you can tell he like walks backwards up a ramp because his feet are like at the same level as the top of the railing when he goes over. And it's the cut from inside the house. I think that's the old footage to the new footage on the balcony, which why did they need that? Because they could have just used the old footage. They cut wrong, and there's an extra shot as he's coming out of the upper floor.
Crazy.
It's just, I mean, it's a good sign of things to come, to be fair.
Hey, listen, I didn't notice it, and I'm the kind of person that would notice that.
You were just overwhelmed by the synthy score.
Maybe. Score's awesome, by the way.
Is it? Oh, man.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Ooh. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool. I don't want to rain on your parade.
Okay. You can rain on it later.
It's your fall break, man. It's your fall break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to pull something good out of this movie. Not that it was all bad. Like there was good things. I
can think of
was
two.
Fine.
I can think of 2 great things in particular, but we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
They're probably in my. They're probably in my notes.
There's 4, but 2 of them are pretty hidden.
Okay, I'm not sure if I have this in the right order. I don't know what the hell happened here. Laurie, the fear of being put to sleep when she's in the hospital is not paid off. Right? She's afraid.
Pretty much anything she does is not paid off in this
She's
movie.
she's afraid to be put to sleep. Why? She's put to sleep anyway. It doesn't pay off. Not like just nothing. Also, when was the last time someone was put to sleep for stitches? Is that a thing?
Have you met my kids?
Like stitches and X-rays.
Yeah.
We're gonna. No, we gotta knock you out for this.
X-rays.
Nope. Can't do it.
I mean, that doctor is not exactly firing on all cylinders, unless the cylinders are full of alcohol.
I thought that too, but I'm like, they're like, okay, we got to make this doctor out of his mind and make her put her to sleep, right? And so he has to be drunk because she only needs stitches and X-rays, and it's like, why are you going through all of this hassle to not pay it off in any way? So none of that made sense.
This movie makes a lot of effort to get like traditional things that are like in urban legends mixed into the plot. So you've got the drunk doctor coming from a party because every tropey movie needs a drunk doctor coming from a party.
Here's an idea. It just popped in my head. Now tell me if it's bad or not. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, it's terrible. I haven't even heard it yet.
The whole point of that behavior was to keep her secure in one spot to get Michael to her. They didn't want her being out and about. Right, so they wanted the sedation to have her bedridden, blah blah blah, whatever reason they wanted to do that.
That's fine.
Wouldn't it have been cool if she was actually being guarded by the police because they're not really sure if she's the killer because there's no Myers evidence?
That's fine too.
That would have been cool.
I was thinking maybe she's so ridiculous, like behaving so ridiculously that they have to sedate her.
Yeah, have her flipping out.
She could just be hysterical.
Pour shit out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can do that. But I for some reason I was thinking like that would have been cool if because there's no evidence of Myers. There's her 3 friends are dead. She's in the house with the dead people.
Yep.
She would be a suspect.
Sure.
So that would make sense. That way you got that whole Godfather hospital thing going on where there's like a guard.
Yep.
And that would keep her in that room.
That would make sense.
That would be cool.
It would be kind of tough for some of the rest of the storyline to happen with the paramedic boyfriend.
Well, he could be an orderly instead of a paramedic boyfriend. He could be someone coming in and out of a room.
He could be one of the cops.
He could have been one of the cops.
Hey, but you know what you don't know?
What?
You don't know what death is. So trite, man.
So much corn in this movie.
You know, for it being like the strongest part of the first movie, Donald Pleasance really just like, he didn't even phone it in. He like telegrammed it in.
He punted it in.
Yeah, like, sir, we have a message at the front desk for you here. It's typed out through teletype. Excuse me. Yes. You don't know what death is. Stop.
Now, Dimitri. You don't know what death is, Dimitri.
Dimitri. You remember when we were hanging out, Dimitri? Yeah.
No, I would call you just for any reason.
For any reason.
But not this time. I'm calling you for a serious reason, Dimitri.
Didn't Jamie Lee Curtis kind of phone it in as well?
And if you're not listening in order, you don't get it.
Right.
Here's the thing about Jamie Lee Curtis in this movie. She's not here enough and she doesn't get to do enough.
Right.
But when she is acting scared, I believe it. It makes for some really good pictures for the back of the box.
The last third of the movie, she's used very well. But I think a lot of the other stuff is just ugh.
Jamie Lee Curtis is very good.
Yes.
I love her acting. She's very good. To me, maybe this is just me, and maybe this is just an observation. She looks old. Like,
well, the fake hair didn't help.
Like older than all of her friends,
Right.
older than all of these other teenagers that are being,
But I think she was 18 when she made this movie. She just looks old.
Okay,
Yeah.
they made her look old.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I don't know, man. I would say Annie looks about 28.
I think they all looked old in the first one. Yeah. Yeah, and PJ Souls looked, I mean, they all looked older. Just like when we watch Carrie, you'll see all the high school kids, and it's like Travolta and PJ Souls again, like all these people, and it's like, they're not in high school. These people are like 24 years old.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of the trope of the time.
Anyway, that was just an observation that I had. My next note, the fact that it's Halloween makes it super easy for Myers to walk around in the open and still go unnoticed. This is obvious, but the first one didn't really feature this dynamic.
Right.
It's cool.
Yes, that was one of my pros.
And I think that this, the fact that it's called Halloween, right? This is the reason. They don't pay off the title of...
They do in the first one once. Or twice, actually.
Okay.
The little kid coming out of school that runs into him, he's not taken back by it. And then the ghost Michael is kind of the way they're paying it off.
Wait, what's the
like
ghost
when
Michael?
Do I have your ghost, Bob, or can I get your ghost, Bob? Like when he puts on the ghost sheet and goes to the bedroom. That's where he pays off Halloween.
Okay.
But not like in this movie.
Yeah.
This movie he uses as a tactic.
I don't even know if he's really even using it as a tactic or realizes he is.
Right.
But yeah, whatever. The dynamic is there in this movie. It's cool. It could have even been more in this movie than it was and still be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like that this movie is the continuation of the first one, where in the first one they're trying not to disrupt the town. They're trying not to tell anyone. They're trying to keep it under control, blah, blah, blah. And then this is, what Loomis feared.
Yeah.
What the cops feared
from
the first one.
They one up it with Brackett. Like, his daughter was one of the victims.
Yep.
So to play that up was a good idea as well.
It's a little premature for a guy in a Michael costume, isn't it? Like, only 4 people know what he looks like at this point.
I think they were just shopping at the same store.
And the way this dude goes out, boy, I mean, I get that you have to have this guy, like, fucked up beyond all recognition. I get that. It doesn't sit right with me. Like...
Because it's a cop car, first of all. Which makes it even worse.
Like, I don't know. Maybe I missed something. I don't know how, like, a fire just, like, spontaneously happened there and whatever. There's not that much.
Was one of the cars a Ford Pinto?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, what was he pinned up against? Like a propane truck? Like, I don't know.
That's what it should have been. If they were going to do that, he should have ran into a gas truck.
Yeah, but it happened so fast, and I didn't, like, rewind it to see, like, well, how did that fire happen?
It was like a Volkswagen Bug.
Like, I was like, what's the
van?
What's the, like, I missed the explanation for this fire. Let me go back and look at it. I never did, because I think at this point the movie was just kind of like, I was like, well, it's probably just not paid off. I'm just going to keep going. But even then, even though there is not that much gasoline pouring into the engine of a Crown Vic or whatever that car was to make that fire. Fine. Still, like, you would think that, there would be some flailing, like if a dude's on fire, or if not, if he's completely KO'd or like dead and on fire, then he wouldn't be standing straight up.
Well, he's held
be
up
limp.
by the
He's held up by the
car.
car.
Yeah, but his head and neck are held up by the car? No. He should be limp.
Right. I always had a problem with it because
And he was
what the hell is that cop doing 95 miles an hour down a back street like that? Like, it wasn't like he was responding to anything.
And so I just, about the guy, like, just standing straight up, I was like, this dude got hit by the car and immediately rigor mortis. Like, it's like, boom. Just like, stick.
Yeah.
Like, they could have had his head hit something.
Right.
Impale his head. And then
Have
set it
just
on
his head
fire.
burn. Don't have his whole body. Like,
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that you can't recognize him without his dentals. So
Right.
it's like, because it could be Michael.
Hey,
I don't
so but one thing about this scene that I have been playing with today. So this is fresh, and I probably won't stand by this by the time we even launch the episode. But if I'm
Love
John
it.
Carpenter, right, and I made Halloween, and it's a big success, but I still know that I really jacked up that opening scene with Annie and Lori riding around in the car, and the alarm still going off at the store that was broken into, which, I mean, that would have been, what did we decide, like 4 hours, 8 hours after the
least,
break-in?
at
Like,
least,
why
yeah.
is that alarm still on? What if Ben Tramer broke into that store after school, stole that mask, and it just happened to be the same mask that Michael Myers had bought legally earlier in the day?
Boy, legally. Son of a bitch. Check
I'm
the
kidding, of
cameras.
course, because,
Yeah.
I mean, nothing better than the Sheriff Brackett character in the first one being like, well, he stole mask, knives,
Some rope.
and some rope. And it's like, whatever, man.
And a tombstone.
Maybe Ben Tramer's just going to have, he bought a little shovel and a pry bar and a small gator so he could drive it back home.
Stole the keys to the gator.
Well, he did have a station wagon, and those things
Yeah.
are built like tanks. So I guess he could put a headstone back there.
I
No,
guess,
definitely.
but
If he could lift it, yeah.
Oh,
Definitely.
He lifted it right out of the ground. The fuck?
timeline-wise, when he slams on the brakes, when Annie yells at him, does he have the
Mhm.
headstone already? Because
I don't know. 'cause
that would be
shit would've been
hilarious if
right
it came flying up
Right up
into
his
the front
ass.
seat.
Ah!
You just
Speed kills.
clip
So
the
do
shit.
tombstones, bitch.
You just clip the shit out of Mike.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Did you catch that the first scene of the movie has more blood than all of Halloween 1?
Yes. Yeah, that's on my cons list. Is all the blood.
That's a con. Okay.
Yeah, for a Halloween movie. Yeah.
Well, but this is post Friday the 13th, man. We need blood now.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true. So many animal jump scares. There's a dog in the beginning. There's like a cat in the dumpster. Like
The
okay,
guard.
we get it. We get it. Okay. The security guard, Mr. Garrett. Mr. Garrett.
Mm.
Mr. Garrett. Okay. His kill was predictable as soon as the camera angle changed.
Mm.
Agreed.
He's checking all the closets, and then boom, you get this camera angle where it's like he's about to shut the door, and Michael's gonna be there, and he's gonna be dead.
Yep.
And he shut the door, and there he was, and he
was-
was dead.
You're calling it.
Predictable as hell.
You've seen so many of these fucking movies, you can call them all.
I don't think it's because I'm not smart. I think that the movie was just not great.
Right. For the time, it was great.
Sure.
Ish.
John Carpenter will
Sure.
say in interviews that he basically was drunk the entire time he watched this movie or wrote this movie
Wrote
because
it, yeah.
he'd already written Halloween. He felt it was stupid to have to write Halloween again.
Okay. Next note. I have him in my notes as the horny paramedic.
Mm.
Bud.
The horny paramedic kill
Bud.
was fantastic.
Yes, the silent
So
in the background.
good.
Yeah.
It was funny because my wife was sitting like across in the other room when the beginning of that scene happened, and I was, she's
Had your pants down?
she's getting undressed and
Right.
blah blah blah, and I'm describing, I'm like, ooh, we're gonna see something here, and like she just like looks at me, and I was like, ooh, she's definitely getting naked, And like, my wife is just giving me like that look, like,
Right.
oh God, like rolling her eyes. And I'm like, but she's like behind frosted glass.
Right.
So I'm explaining this to her. She can't see the TV. I'm just explaining the scene to her as it's happening. And then the kill happens, and I'm like, oh my God, this is great. And she's like, what? And I'm like, the dude that she was in the hot tub with is now on the other side of the frosted glass, and he's getting strangled by Michael Myers, and she has her back turned, and she can't see it, and she can't hear it, but you can see it, and you can't hear it,
And
but
then,
you can tell what it probably sounds like.
and then seductive Michael comes in. The first time I've seen him seductive Michael. Like, he does this a few times in the series.
Email me
walks
if you
up-
can explain it.
Yeah, I think this is where women fell in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he walked up, he's all suave, he's got swag, and he puts his hand out, and she like grabs his hand. She's holding his finger.
Luckily, she's
and-
got COVID, so she can't smell his.
She's like biting it. She's like biting and kissing.
Yeah,
his
doesn't she
fingers.
like bite on his finger a little
Yeah.
bit? Yeah, and he's
Ugh.
just like, yeah, and then
It's funny, Dan, that you should bring up COVID, because I'm like, they're sitting in the hot tub or whatever that was, and the horny paramedic is like, all this Michael Myers stuff. I was like, he's a COVID denier. He's about to die of COVID. Like,
he's about to get a shot. Yeah.
I was like, he is a denier. He's about
I don't
to die.
see what the big deal is. I mean, we've only had 17 people killed in the last 4 hours, but psh, I'm not
Right?
dead. I'm
I gotta
here.
get laid.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
Bud.
this is just a manufactured serial murderer.
Yeah.
It's not.
Lori's the real killer. That's
I
why
bla-
she's been arrested.
I blame China.
I like that they basically. I don't know. I don't love the strangle kill as much as you do, only because the whole time I'm thinking, ooh, how clever am I? Now the boy gets strangled. Right? Because it's just the PJ Souls kill from the first one. It's just this time it's the boy that gets strangled, not the girl.
Yeah, I think the inventiveness is the silent.
Yeah, I mean,
in
it's
the
still
background.
I
That was
like
kinda cool.
I like everything about it.
Yeah.
I like the
I
whole.
never even
I
thought
like the
of
way
PJ
the
Souls.
yeah. I like the way the whole scene went down. I love how he used the frosted glass for both uses, like
Mhm.
from the beginning and with the girl, and later with the young gentleman being strangled. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that Hitchcock thing where, like, what you imagine is worse than what they could
Right.
show you, right? But it's a little bit more than that because you can see it, just not great.
It never popped in my mind that that's how PJ Souls' character was killed. It did pop into my mind that kill in Friday 13th 3, the only one I really like, was the boyfriend being muffled right off the side of the steps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
when
I pop.
when Christine, is that her name, Christine or Christy, is like yelling his name, and he's literally like
He's
a foot away.
Yeah, he's right there.
Just
struggling
around
to
the
say
corner,
something.
yeah.
That's
Yes.
what popped in my head when I saw that.
Okay.
I didn't
yeah.
even think of the strangle with the phone cord, because I guess the phone cord was so much different than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you guys want to talk about the phone kill a little more? Because I know we talked about that at length in the original Halloween episode. But recently I was tooling around in the kind of lesser-known Hitchcock theater, the catalog, if you will. There's a movie called Dial M for Murder.
Yeah. Dial for Murder.
Which I had never seen because I'd always heard it kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's shot in 3D, so I know why it sucked, right? I know why Friday 3 is no good, so I know why Dial M for
a
Murder is
gimmick.
probably no good. And it isn't very good. In fact, the last scene was so dumb that I think I made a face. I don't usually have to make a face at a Hitchcock movie. But there is an attempted strangulation while the phone receiver's off the hook. But it's with a scarf, not with the phone cord. But the blocking is very similar to what follows in those other movies that ripped it off. I think that's your original why there's a phone in all these movies. I think it's all a reference to Dial M for Murder. Now, I'm not going to say that Carpenter ripped off Hitchcock. I'm going to say that Carpenter ripped off Lindsay, because I stand by the blocking of those two scenes being so similar.
Right.
But I think Lindsay was ripping off Hitchcock, but he was also kind of borrowing from Bay of Blood, which I forgot until recently has a phone kill, but it's a dude. Guys, phones are dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
Well, you know why I think they do it? The phone represents your connection to the outside world.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's right there.
Yeah.
Your safety is right there. Your savior's right there. Civilization's right there, and you can't get to it. That's what I think that represents.
Absolutely.
Well, and it
Yeah.
also plays that awesome kind of inverse of what we saw with the strangle kill in the therapy area with the frosted glass, right? On the phone, you can hear it. You can't see it. And
Right.
there's nothing you can do about it, right? It's
Mhm.
like one of the only ways in those, especially in the 50s, that you could be in the room with someone being murdered and not be able to help them.
Yep.
And I think that's what makes me love the beginning kill of Scream even more.
Oh, yeah.
Because it happens over the phone and her mother's listening to it happen after she's already been stabbed and she sees her parents and she can't yell loud enough for them to hear her.
Right.
So it's like it's that same play. There's the people that can save you, but they can't hear you. They're literally 40 feet away, 30 feet away,
Yep.
and they can't save you because you can't yell. And then they can hear you, but they're listening to your death on the phone.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the genius.
But guys, John Carpenter didn't see Dial M for Murder until way later.
No, wait. No, he didn't see that until way after.
Is this when I always have to say, but I still love John Carpenter. He's the best. But still.
I actually asked him that question specifically, and I suggested that maybe he had, like seen it in film school.
Right.
And no.
Have you
He
ever
hadn't seen
read
it
the
till later.
script, Dan, for Halloween 2?
No. Do you have the script laying around? That we
No,
can
but
thumb
I'm
through?
wondering if I was going to ask you because what he's talking about is leading me to the one kill, the Karen kill in the tub.
Okay.
And I'm curious if it was written that way or if that's a director's choice when on set.
I'm 100% going to tell you that kill was in the script.
Okay.
Even though I haven't seen
I
the
know
script.
it's in Deep Red, so I want to make sure that Carpenter, who doesn't watch Jollies.
No, he never saw any of them.
Well, he didn't see the Lindsay ones, but he's a fan of and friend of Dario Argento. He told me that
Okay.
himself.
Okay.
Which is bonkers to be able to say that. But yeah, when I talked to John Carpenter, when I talked to Mr. Carpenter, when I talked to Johnny C, he was upfront about being friends with and enjoying the works of Dario Argento. Now,
Okay.
I made you watch Deep Red, Travis, and George, you've seen it before. When
Yep.
you saw the Boyley kill in Halloween 2, did you remember Deep Red and
Nope,
go,
I
oh
had
God,
totally
that
nope.
kill is exactly in Deep Red 5 years earlier?
Ironically, I'm watching Deep Red and go, that's the kill from Halloween 2.
No,
Yeah, I did the same
I totally
thing.
forgot.
Yeah, I saw Deep
like
Red
almost
way
frame
after
by
I saw
frame.
Halloween 2, and so I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I know this kill, right?
Yeah.
Now, we'll take a quick pause on your notes here, George, because while we're on the topic, let's talk about Dario Argento, Deep Red. Did you make it through the end of the movie, Travis?
Yes. Took me a few times.
Okay, let's not talk about the ending too much because a lot of people out there probably haven't seen Deep Red yet by Dario Argento. It's probably on some streaming service, and you should definitely watch it because it's flippin' awesome.
I think I watched it on Tubi.
Yeah, Tubi's got everything, and I don't know how they get away with it, but I'm not going to question it. So, guys, a couple of things about Deep Red that pop up in the original Halloween. The knitting needles out of nowhere, right? Laurie's in a dark room. She's got a knitting needle, and she stabs Michael in the dark. Same thing happens in Deep Red, only it's a bird that gets stabbed, but it's a little similar, right? The framing's the same. The music in Halloween, definitely in the family tree of The Exorcist. Somewhere in between, you've got the Profundo Rosso Deep Red music that all kind of shares the DNA of the Tubular Bells.
Mm-hmm.
In this movie, though, what I felt like was with the first Halloween, Carpenter was like, oh man, what'd be cool here is a little sprinkle of Argento. Little, a pinch, right? And in Halloween 2, he's just like,
Just a full scene.
big chug of J&B stealing outright from Halloween 2. The scene, and it all happens like in one part of the movie. It's almost like he got to the part where he's about to boil that lady. And then he popped on a VHS, an early VHS of Deep Red. And it's just like, yeah, Oh, and while we're here, let's go to a schoolhouse. Let's have a creepy kid's drawing of children with a knife. And then let's draw on the chalkboard because that was creepy in Deep Red. And then there's the part where the floor is just covered in blood, right? Like, It is the entire frame. There are no edges. It's just blood, and it's like that cool gleaming kind of shot, which is like a straight up shot out of Deep Red, only the guy's face reflects in it. But I mean, like, dude, we've gone from like a fan of Dario Argento to being like, hey man, can I borrow this for the weekend and maybe not give it back? Which I'm fine with, because nobody saw Deep Red, on the scale that they saw Halloween 2, so at least it just planted a seed for later when nerds found those movies.
And it even had her fall out of the tub and land on the floor almost exactly the same way.
Yes, sir.
It was just,
There's a movie called Someone is Watching Me. Someone is Watching Me, directed by John Carpenter, made around the same time as Halloween, actually plays on TV, if I remember right, like November of 78. So he makes it before Halloween, and it plays on TV around the same time, a little bit after Halloween's out. It actually steals the writing on the mirror and fog bit from Deep Red, like straight up. It's also got some really cool, like, proto-Halloween moments where, like, we'll have to watch it at some point as part of one of these Carpenter explorations, because it's a really cool movie with some really good jumps, but it's made for TV, so it, like, doesn't have any boobs or blood, but it's still, it's pretty creepy and good.
Well, neither the Scream, so.
Boobs and blood.
Boobs and blood in that either.
Give the people what they want. Boobs and blood.
This is, like, the most gratuitous nudity of
yes.
the movies that we've watched from Carpenter so far. And I mean, I guess it's a Rosenthal movie, right? We really can't call it a Carpenter, but the fact that she's like covered up when she's getting dunked, and then the last shot just inexplicably the towel is a foot low. Like, guys, this is why we can't have nice things.
I did like the detail that Myers' hand was also blistered. I did like that detail.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah. If you see him pull her out of the water for the last time, like the last dunk.
Yeah, because he's got his hand partially
his
in
hand
the water
completely in that water. So it's blistered as well.
That's so gnarly, though, when she's kissing on his hand, because just in the previous scene, Bud's like, oh, you hurt my finger. I need therapy on my finger. And then, of course, she starts giving Michael Myers finger therapy. Ew.
Let's just call it what it is. It's fingerhead.
It's fingerhead.
Oh,
that's what it is.
That's really
okay.
That's on a t-shirt. Did you catch, George, that the relationship between Bud and the nurse, is it Karen? Is her name Karen?
Yeah.
Bud and Karen.
Doesn't matter. It's a horny paramedic and
Boobs McGee
and boob nurse.
Well, let's put it this way. Let's put horny male hospital person. This isn't going well for me. Horny paramedic. You'll see why I'm going here. Horny paramedic and kind of self-hating or maybe like self-abusing attractive nurse. Here's the thing. You remember Axel in Friday the 13th Part 4? Do you remember, George, when we talked about the final chapter and I said, look, Friday the 13th just upped the ante by doing all of Halloween 2 in 10 minutes at the beginning of a movie?
Yes.
Dudes. It was on purpose. Like, Friday is just like, oh, Halloween 2 took an hour and a half to get... Look, we did all the beats. 10 minutes and hit credits. We're doing a Friday movie.
I love it.
I love Friday 4.
Yeah, Friday 4 is good, man.
I'll tell you where I'm going. I'm going crazy.
It's the final chapter.
It is the final chapter. So you thought.
I don't really know if I love baby neglect in my Halloween movie.
Listen, the door was open just in case the babies start crying. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it. It's fine.
I don't know. I was worried after he ate the dog in the first one. I was like, oh no, he's going to be hungry.
That's a different movie, man. I don't think they were going to go that route.
I didn't even think of that. Because for me, it was Mike Myers doesn't mess with children.
Because he is a child.
He never has, yeah. I was like, yeah, those babies are fine.
Now, did you catch the kid early in the movie, George, with the razor blade in his mouth?
You see, at the time,
did you track that at all, or were you just like the mom brings the little kid into the emergency room?
Hospital emergency room?
What? That's what it was.
That's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, he got some bad Halloween candy, apparently.
It plays into what Dan always says about like politics of the time.
Yes. Yeah, because that's what everybody feared. You're going to bite into something.
So it's like, hey, let's throw this in. It's political.
Well, and it's also lore, right? It's just like it's one of those things like the drunk doctor. You've got to have a drunk doctor, and you've got to have a kid who gets razor bladed by his candy, even though there's never, to my knowledge, been an incident of that happening.
No, but it was a big thing back then. I remember my mom always saying that, check your candy. Check your candy. It was usually less about candy and more about the caramel apples.
Oh, yeah. Bobbing for apples, man. You never know.
Yeah. People were worried more about that. I would never eat one of those things anyway.
My parents told me to check my candy, and I'm like, I look at my candy, and I'm like, looks like candy to me. And then
I checked half of it while trick-or-treating. I ate it.
And then also, like, if someone's going to, like, put some shit in my candy, I'm assuming that they're going to be pretty good at hiding it. So, like, I'm kind of, like, taking my life into my own hands regardless of whether I check it or not.
Yeah.
Right? And then also, final point, you know how, like, they're always talking about, like, oh, they're, like, going to lace the kids' candy with drugs and shit. It's like, no one's going to give away their drugs for free to children.
Although there was a few cases of people doing the gummy things.
I don't know, man. That's a good way to send somebody to the hospital.
It's a little cheaper now.
Yeah, I guess
you get the gummy molds. Yeah, you get the molds now. You can do that. But back then, nobody was putting their...
Dude, no one's giving away their drugs. I don't know. Just doesn't seem... Don't add up.
No, I hear you.
Anyway.
It's the dangers of socialism. You go to someone's house and get free candy.
That's what it is,
man.
You
might get killed.
Nothing is free.
Right.
You know who pays for that candy? The taxpayers.
The taxpayers.
All right.
You know, if that night watchman were to hear you guys talk like that, he might reprimand you because he's essentially the fat cop from Friday 2.
Reprimand? Right.
Reprimand him?
Reprimand you?
You're not even going to reprimand him?
Still my favorite character in part 2, I think.
Reprimand.
Reprimand.
You're not even going to reprimand him?
It's an advertisement.
We're going to reprimand you for that terrible advertisement.
You know, when people mispronounce words in movies that they should know, you know who they ought to have to deal with?
Librarians?
Sam Hain.
Sam Hain.
Because
they don't say that right either.
Isn't it like Sam? You're supposed to say it some crazy way. And they don't say it in the movie, but it's like, I don't mean crazy, like just way different than it's spelled.
Samhain or something like that. It's like,
hey, this is Dan in Post. It's Salwyn, silent M, because those crazy Gaelics.
It's not the way it's spelled.
Not the way it's spelled, and not the way they say it in this movie, even though Donald Pleasance seems to be the authority suddenly on Celtic culture.
You think they should have brought in like somebody from Massachusetts to explain it a little better?
Yeah, that was over my head. I never heard of that.
Here's the
before.
thing, maybe he's just like me with the Italian words, and he knows in certain audiences they don't want to hear the mozzarella, right?
Right.
He's got to drop a straight just Sam Hain. Sam Hain, y'all.
Sound it out, brother. Sound it out.
Got my Sam Hain.
Sam Hain.
Jaquillin.
Hey, Rod.
Oh, jeez Louise. Hey, but seriously though, when did he learn all, like, here's the thing, maybe he would have been a better, more effective clinician if he'd spent less time reading about druid priest rituals and instead focusing more on like keeping Michael Myers out of the streets of Haddonfield.
Or out of the system. Because it didn't do him too well.
Okay, can we talk about my next favorite kill?
Yeah, man.
The nurse kill.
In the hallway.
Yes.
The real uplifting one?
That Laurie witnesses.
Yeah.
Straight from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep.
He meat hooked her.
He did. He mean.
Yep.
And he picked her up.
Love it.
And her name was
One-handed.
Franco. She's Nurse Franco, which, if it's not a Jess Franco reference, it's a wasted chance to reference Jess Franco movies, guys. Which I don't think we've talked about him much on the show, and we won't be watching any of his stuff anytime soon. But those who know Jess Franco know. They're nodding right now. Mm-hmm. So the lady who walks in, and Donald Pleasance's character, Dr. Loomis, goes, "Oh, I didn't recognize you," and then doesn't explain who she is. And then she takes out a cigarette and lights it, and you're supposed to be like, "Oh,
It's her.
the nurse from the beginning of the first movie who's only there for 2 minutes, and the only thing that's important about her is she has a matchbook." That, like, what a weird way to bring back a character from in movie time like 2 hours ago.
Yeah, it's like, how does he not remember her? He just spent the night with her 2 days ago.
It's a weird choice. Did you know who that lady was at all, George?
No, I didn't. And what was Loomis's reaction again?
He just goes, "Oh, I didn't recognize you."
What?
She was with him when Myers broke out of the hospital.
Yeah, she was
like two nights prior.
Yeah, she was driving, wasn't she? Or she was a passenger.
Yeah,
but she was all nursed up.
The evil is gone. That part.
Well, he did when they were driving in the car in the first one. He was trying to explain to her how dangerous this dude was.
Right.
And she seemed green, like new, not like experienced, and she was kind of like not taking it seriously. I guess if maybe that was the only time he had ever worked with her. But then again, even like a car ride, like you remember that person, don't you?
Pretty traumatic experience together. You would remember her.
He could at least be like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you outside of your nurse's uniform. The other night when we were in the car together."
Right.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Finish that sentence. Didn't recognize you in plain clothes or something.
Right, outside of your work
Something,
clothes,
yes.
yeah. Hi, caramba.
Because, she does have a recognizable face. But it's most recognizable when she has that cigarette lit. Because she's got these high cheekbones and she's got like that.
Well, yeah, because she was smoking like a chimney in the car. Like it was just one after the other. After the other. Yeah,
like Betty Davis.
So you're like, oh, it's a cigarette chick. Gotcha. All right. I'm on the same page now.
Now, a little bit before this, there's the weird, like, dream sequence. What did that do to you the first time you're seeing that with no context? Laurie's in her hospital bed, and she has, like, this weird dream hallucination that, like, a little girl sees Michael Myers in his cell. Did you track any of that while you're watching it?
Yeah, I saw it, and I kind of just didn't really know what was going on, and
backstory.
I knew that it was, well, I figured that, they have some kind of history that she's forgotten.
Right.
But, obviously they let that cat out of the bag a little later.
Yeah, so it's like 75 minutes into an 85-minute movie that they're like, "Oh, by the way, big twist," right? M. Night Shyamalan is somewhere is like, "Wait, what?"
Well, at least they paid off because she asks earlier in the movie, she's like, "Why me?" And I'm kind of thinking the same thing. Like, what? Why?
What is it about?
What the hell? Why are you chasing her? Like, why?
Do you think it's
so
crazy
they do
that
pay it off?
The movie gets like an hour in before she even realizes his name is Michael Myers. Oh, from the Meyer house. Like, she spends this entire traumatic evening with no explanation as to who's coming after her or why.
Watch the boogeyman.
Just the boogeyman, man.
Now, another retro fix popped into my head just now. Dan, you said you had an issue with Loomis knowing everything about, like, the druids and the Samhain. What if the nurse...
Samhain,
the nurse that he knew, or didn't realize he knew, is the expert on that shit. And she's the one who starts spouting the information.
We're going to call her Chimney Chick.
So that way you're not turning Loomis into a walking Wikipedia.
Well, why would she be well-versed on it either?
Maybe it's her hobby.
Here's what you do. You make the state trooper...
Maybe she's a druid priestess.
An Irishman, Chief O'Hara from the Batman TV show.
And he was a marshal, and marshals are generally pretty smart.
And
they're basically like lawyers with badges.
As he's driving down the highway, he's just, that reminds me of a story I heard from my grandfather. Boom.
And
Fixed.
they should have turned the Strode family into some kind of a cult where Laurie, when she was a baby, she was never completely sacrificed. And that's why Michael's trying to complete the sacrifice.
He needs to sacrifice her.
The Myers family would be the ones who did
Myers
that,
family
not the
would be
Strode
yeah,
family.
not the Strodes. Like the Myers family were involved, and maybe that's why they're no longer around. They were wiped out.
Yeah,
or
well,
put
that
in
would
jail or
that would
whatever.
have to be rewritten from all the way from the beginning.
Right, but they
yeah.
they already established that was a normal family, which kind of made Myers so much better.
That's
Right,
like
maybe
the
it
whole
was-
point. Yeah. Anything.
He has to come from a normal family.
The more we dig into Michael Myers, the less I like Michael Myers. There's just no right. It's the James Gumb thing again. Just leave it undetermined, because the more you tell me about James Gumb, I'm going to like him less. I like him better not knowing why or where.
Right.
Is he still listening to the show? I haven't heard from James in a long time.
James?
He's been around. He's on vacation.
Oh, I see.
They're opening the new James Gumb house out in Pittsburgh.
Did I
That's where he is.
did I send you guys the James Gumb meme recently?
Are they any closer to catching him?
No?
Oh wait, want to see that great big oversized person? I can't say fat anymore. Even though I'm a mass murderer, I'm still a little woke. I'm only looking for vegans now.
I just
Fat
sent you
vegans.
guys I just sent you guys a dank meme. Just FYI.
Dank.
Yeah. It's dank
Oh,
as
yes,
hell.
I did see you sent us that one. That's a good one.
I think I sent it maybe just to you, Dan. Or maybe I sent it to Billy. I don't know.
I like it. This is good radio.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
Well, when the episode airs,
yeah.
we'll
let's
just
not
share
have a
it to
screen
the
to show
page.
anybody.
No, exactly. No, when this episode airs, we should just post this meme on the Facebook group and say, "Listen, if you want to see what we're talking about, just go right to the group."
Basically says, "This was always my least favorite Bon Jovi music video."
We'll get there. All right.
Hey, so real question regarding Halloween 2. Laurie is in bed. How does she know Michael's coming to get her? What tips her off? Because all of a sudden he's stabbing pillows and she's in the hallway. But like, did they establish any kind of tell
Nope.
that he would?
Nope.
She would.
Nope.
Maybe they were twins separated at birth, and she has
Psychic
twin tuition.
connection. She's only 4
Twin
years
tuition.
younger, or whatever.
Nope.
Okay, as long as I didn't miss something.
Because the
Nope.
script said so.
Damn it, drunk John Carpenter writing these drunk scripts. Hey, did you guys catch the Bava-esque lighting in the boiler room?
Who didn't?
Yeah.
The part where it looks like an episode of the old Batman TV show. Did you
Yeah,
catch
when
that?
he steps out.
The
Is that
bright.
when he steps out. and
It's the
like all
bright.
red?
It's just like a bright red light. That,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
a
was like,
Mario
oh,
Bava
shit,
move.
that's Bava.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's Bava.
Dude, I think that like twice a day, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so
I'm
Bava.
like, this bathroom
right
is
there.
so Bava.
I'm gonna.
Oh wait, no, it's not. Click.
I'm gonna make you guys watch some Bava someday, and you're gonna be like, "Thank you, Dan, for letting us
Thank you,
know
Dan.
about Bava and how great he was."
Dan makes you watch a whole movie just because there's maggots in it.
There's
true.
maggots in the last 2 minutes.
Maggots and
I'm like,
wind.
I just watched the craziest movie I'll ever watch in my life because there was maggots in it. Oh, and there's a water that's on fire.
And there's wind. Don't forget the
Oh
wind.
yeah, the windy trees. You're right.
It's
You're right.
wind. Yeah.
And a
Yes,
chimp with a
yes.
razor blade, guys. Come on, don't undersell this movie.
Right. And Donald Pleasance.
And Donald Pleasance and Friday the 13th, the entire story of the first one, only with crazier acting. Guys,
And
that movie
beautiful
is
Jennifer Connelly.
applicable.
Moving on to Dr. Loomis's warning shot.
It's pretty wild.
It's wild, and I'm like,
Is this the Ben Tramer?
This is when
No,
he's
the
in
warning shot.
the car with the marshal. And he's
Oh,
like,
right.
"What is
He
it you
take-
blokes do? You fire a warning shot." He's
Right.
really
You know-
like it's his best scene in the movie for him.
you know, it would be funny if he was holding a gun to the marshal, and he's like, you guys did with a warning shot? And then the marshal was like, oh, no, we don't do that. But like before he can finish his sentence, he's already shooting out the window. He's like, oh, no, we don't do that. Pow!
We don't do.
And then you see the car go,
Well, you know, if he was
kind of airplane-ish.
if he was Police Chief O'Hara telling the story of the Celtic and Druid history, what you could do is just have him be like, that reminds me of a story from when my grandpa used to tell me stories. And then you have like a light bulb moment, and he initiates the turn on his own accord. You wouldn't have to
And
shoot, and
you
you'd
don't
save a
need-
bullet for Michael.
That's true.
Well, he's got 7 of them, so.
Speaking of which, my next note is, come on, girl, exercise your 2A rights. Because he's like, take it. Take the gun. Take it. And she's like, no, I don't want to.
She would have
I don't
just
want to.
she would have
pretty
just
good.
shot him.
I'm like-
She would have shot him once and just thrown it on the ground. Right? That's
Mhm.
what we learned from the first one.
That's her thing.
Yes. Well, that's basically what she did. I think she shot him twice.
Yeah, in
Threw
the
it on the
eyes.
Yeah, it
Which
turns
was
out she's a hell of a
cool.
shot.
This time, at least, she's a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
I mean, she had pretty
But
good
I'm not-
accuracy with the bladed weapons too, and the knitting needle. She just didn't have the
Yeah.
persistence to see it through.
Well, in her defense, she wasn't expecting him to be immortal.
Yeah, you never expect your killer to be immortal,
Hey,
which is really a full-on wrench when,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, you would think a sewing needle, a 12-inch sewing needle in the throat, in the jugular, would end things.
I think
Well, and
it
like
was
a 25-inch butcher knife, right?
Blade in the chest. Yeah, that should end things too.
Mhm. Or 6 bullets, 7 bullets.
7 bullets, fall off the balcony after being shot 7 times.
There are revolvers that have 7 bullets.
Yeah, but this
There are.
isn't one.
Not his.
That's not one of them.
This
But
is not
I'm
the
just
one.
saying they exist.
As Dr.
But-
Loomis will attest, he shot him
He
6
shot
times.
him 6
Yeah.
times.
Hey,
Yes.
so speaking of things that, besides him being immortal, things that we didn't see coming, I do not think that the makers of this movie foresaw a future of 1080p movie transfers, because it is very clear that Michael Myers, whoever, if it's Dick Warlock, best name in Hollywood, or if it's a stunt double, it's clearly a guy with a mask on with his eyes closed real tight.
Yeah.
Like, they do not do a good job of lighting it. There's too much light, and it's just like, oh, it's to do with his eyes closed, with like
Yeah.
blood
Well,
running
Dick,
down him.
Dick Warlock's head is totally different shape than Nick Castle, so
You would know.
that mask does not fit him right.
You can still light the
At all.
scene though, guys.
Yeah, I know.
What
I
the
hear you.
heck? What the heck? Finale of the movie, and it's just a guy like,
I
"Ugh,
agree.
eyes closed.
Okay, so Loomis gets stabbed with a scalpel. And he falls down like a turd sandwich.
He's old.
He's just a doctor.
Dude. I felt the same way with the scalpel kill of the marshal. Right? I felt like that was a missed opportunity. You have a marshal that you're trying to kill. You know, I think that when Michael pops up, it should be like a struggle, because the marshal should be trained, right, in like hand-to-hand combat or whatever. So if he's going to get the marshal that way, it has to happen super quick. And the marshal kill did not happen super quick. It was
not.
like, here, I'm going to hold you down and then slice your throat.
Yeah.
That's not how a marshal's going to go down, first of all. Second, you could have had a struggle between the marshal and Michael.
Myers.
Yeah, and Loomis is there holding his gun, like not being able to shoot because the struggle is going back and forth. You
Right.
know what I mean? And then Loomis just says, "You know what? F it, Laurie, let's go."
Right.
Right? And you don't even see the marshal kill. You don't need to.
You don't need to.
And then I felt the same way with Loomis, where like he stabs Loomis, Michael stabs Loomis with a scalpel in the stomach. Like, dude, if I was a crazy man and that was my shrink, I would be stabbing him with a scalpel in the face and the neck repeatedly.
Crime of passion.
Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. That's how it would happen, right?
I hate to bring up Walking Dead, but there's a scene where one character has to kill another character,
Mm-hmm.
and well, Dan's never gonna say it, but a brother kills his brother. A main character kills his brother, who's
Mhm.
already a zombie,
Mhm.
and he hits him once in the face with a I think the butt of a gun or something,
Mm-hmm.
and takes his jaw off, but it's still coming.
Yep.
Or moving, and he just starts hitting him in the face, and then before you know it, he has pounded everything away that looks like his brother. Like
Yep.
there's nothing left. There's just a pulp.
Mhm.
And to me, you're right. Like that man has been in his life,
Yeah.
and been a thorn in his side, and been, just
He's been trying to shrink him.
right.
for
It should have been
20
a lot
years or
of,
whatever.
a lot more than that. Definitely.
Yeah. It reminds me, you know what it should have been? Um,
And they knew
There's
they
a
were going to
scene-
kill Loomis at the end, so they could
Yeah,
have done
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
They knew he was going to be dead.
yeah, he still could have had been stabbed 100 times with
Right.
with a little scalpel and still managed to light the
Light
world on
match,
fire.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I think of as a comparison type of kill? You're thinking of Walking Dead. I'm thinking of there's a scene in The Patriot,
Mhm.
Mel Gibson, where he goes
Yes.
at one of these
Redcoats.
redcoats with a hatchet.
Mhm.
That scene.
Yes.
And that's not even like, I don't want to say like it's not that intense. I would think that Michael's passion for Loomis would be even more intense than that.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm going to say about
I hear
that.
I hear you.
Yeah, but Michael isn't exactly Mr. Passion, right? Like, he's always kind of cold, and so I don't know. I mean, I get it, but like at the same time, can we talk about how creepy Myers is when he's like whimpering like a child or maybe an injured animal while he's slashing around the room blind?
Before
Yeah.
we do that, can we talk about how he stops almost like in a Jason
And
fashion
turns his head a little bit.
when she says his name?
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that?
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's good, but is it original?
he's the first head tilt. Myers was.
And Friday 2's Jason is very much a Michael Myers ripoff. So I think
Yeah.
I think we're just playing off each other already. We're in that cycle where we borrow from
Yeah,
each
because when he
other.
kills what's his name?
I got
Is
the timeline wrong.
it's 78. He kills him against the wall
Friday-
and then stares at him and tilts his head again.
That's true too.
So he's
Yeah.
the head tilter. So
I know. I was just thinking of the way
she took him out of it for a second.
she took him
Yeah.
out of it in the same way, you know, I forget the chick's name, but she like put on the sweater and,
Right.
you know, kind of controlled Jason in Friday 2. Right?
Where's Paul?
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. And this movie came out before Friday 2.
the only reason I
No.
again I
No.
This came out after Friday 2.
Okay, well then
yeah,
he's
this came
ripping
out
off
after.
Friday 2.
Yeah, but they're not similar enough to where I'm worried about it. Like the chick in part 2, Friday 13th part 2,
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't just say Jason and he tilts his head and then he comes at her.
It's not the head tilt. It was the hesitation.
Yeah, but she talks to him. She says, "Mama's proud." Like she says some
Yes.
things to him.
Yep.
So that's what, and he lowers the axe or the
But
pickaxe.
this gives you, when she says his name, Michael, and he stops, it reminded me, and I'm like, are they about to do the Jason
Yeah.
2 thing?
They didn't do enough of it to where it's definitely redeemable. I see what you're saying.
But then they didn't do it,
Right.
which is good.
Right.
But it was still there,
Yeah, it
and
was
I'm
there.
like, don't think it was really.
But Myers
needed.
and Jason are the same character, pretty much. So it's
You
almost
think?
like, because they don't talk and you don't get to hear what's going on in their head, that's pretty much all you can do as a character, is to say their name and see what happens. So
Right.
what's funny is he never reacted to Loomis when Loomis says his name. You know, later on,
Right.
You know, it's like it doesn't happen. So, and he has a lot more relationship with hearing Loomis say his name, that he should probably react to him as well. But it
Yeah,
seems
but
like
Loomis
he only
is a
reacted
dude.
to her.
Loomis is a dude. Loomis is trying to shrink his brain.
Hmm.
This girl is his sister
Allegedly.
that he has memories from childhood with,
Right.
and as we know, he's stuck
As a child.
in a child brain. Okay, so my next thought: when Loomis goes for the tank, they're gonna Jaws him,
Hmm.
Oh, wouldn't that have been awesome?
but they don't.
Just like a suppository
Actually,
of
They
oxygen.
kind of do.
Actually, I thought that they were gonna Jaws him as soon as they entered the room. Michael wasn't even in there yet, and I
Right.
saw the tank, and I was like, "Oh, they're gonna Jaws
Well,
him."
doesn't Loomis say, "Smile, you son of a bitch"?
um, so and then because I kind of thought that like Loomis went down like a big turd, I said
You
that
out like Boba Fett.
I take it back. Loomis came through like a boss. Flaming Michael is so cool. I'm ready for Halloween 3. Michael goes to hell.
Dude, it was a great movie explosion in that hallway.
Yeah.
And those burns are pretty long. Like, they're not the longest
Yeah.
we've seen, but for the time, if you count them out from cut to cut, that's how you tell how long they are.
Listen, this wasn't like, and again, it's, yeah, I guess it's not super long, but it's not like a part of his body. that's on fire.
It's the whole thing.
It's the whole damn
And he's acting
thing.
while that's happening. Like
It's
he's
an
walking.
excellent visual.
Yeah.
It's excellent.
And what's funny is
It's
I
more
thought
than
Dan
excellent.
was going to make us watch the 51 version of The Thing again, just for that fire scene.
You don't get this
Yeah.
movie without The Thing, man.
No, you don't. No, you
God,
don't.
The Thing is so scary. Like, this one's controlled and cool. The Thing makes me nervous for everyone involved.
Yeah, because of the accelerant.
Yeah, and just the lack of control. Oof.
But the image of her cowering and that body walking towards her is so Frankenstein,
Oh, yeah.
like on the next level. Like it's almost like the townspeople got into the castle with the pitchforks and flames and they lit him on fire and he's still coming. Like that's pretty cool.
I think
It's
I
very
downloaded
cool.
the wrong Halloween, too. That's a porn joke.
He's still coming. Well, he did. I'm sure he was a little aroused by Nurse Karen from the
Maybe.
the hand head,
Maybe.
Handhead.
fingerhead,
Fingerhead. Thumbhead. Ew. It's all gross.
Fingerhead.
Fingerhead. You skipped my favorite part.
Ooh,
Which
what's your
one?
favorite
I
part?
love. When I was a kid, it was my favorite thing, and then I told Dan to watch Terror in the Isles because they showcase that scene. It's right before he kills the marshal. When he
Okay.
walks through that glass.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. To me, that's if he would have been like that the whole movie. He was really slow, snail-like. The angles weren't good. Like I love that scene in the first movie where he's crossing the street and he's walking basically at the pace of the music, and he's coming, and she's like trying to get like that tension. He's walking fast. He's not walking really slow.
Mhm.
But Warlock plays it differently. But that scene when he's coming into the hospital from the parking lot, and he's walking a lot faster than the rest of the movie, and then he hits that glass, and you're like, oh, he's going to shake the door. It's going to be a whole thing.
Boom.
Nope. He just walks right through the glass, like mid-stride. I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
that was
that's a
always my
really-
favorite.
That's an awesome
Yeah.
scene.
And that's where he looked the most like the original Myers. Face shape-wise. I don't
Yep.
know how he was carrying his face. Like, if he had his mouth open a little bit or if he duct taped his head or whatever. But the mask fit him very well at that scene. I didn't like seeing his eyes, though.
Oh, my gosh. And just the closed eyes thing. Guys, like,
Yeah.
light the
That-
scene. You're spending money on all this stuff. Light
But
it.
think about how terrifying it would have been when he killed the second nurse with the scalpel, and you don't see his eyes. Like to me, all the scenes where he's doing the deaths and he's like wide-eyed looking at the person he's killing. A lot of the scariness of the Nick Castle Myers was that you can't see his eyes.
Friend of the show, Nick Castle.
It's just that blank face, that
I-
that motionless face.
I agree, because if you listen to Dr. Loomis explain it, there's no humanity
Yeah.
left.
You show the eyes, you're showing he's a human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I agree.
And he doesn't have that weird eye in the second one like he did in the first, where he took the hanger to the eye. Like it's the same night, right?
Right?
the
Didn't
same
he?
night.
Well, he's a different.
He's got like
He's-
Wolverine healing
he's immortal.
powers.
Yeah.
I have fundamental problems with the way this movie treats Michael Myers, and it goes all the way back to the blood and the grass.
Hmm.
This movie has its cake and eats it too when it comes to who
Yeah.
and what Michael Myers is, right? In the first one, there is no blood from Myers. We don't know if he's actually being shot.
Hmm.
For all we know, those are blanks, like Knife of Ice, the scene that John Carpenter's ripping off when he does that scene where he shoots him a bunch of times. Maybe they're blanks, you know? Maybe Loomis is in on this. Or, more likely, they're bullets and he's immortal and he's going to die. But then the end of the movie, it establishes maybe he's more than mortal, right? And the scary, echoey, heavy breath and the cut cameras
Mhm.
and where is he? They've got a thing going on and it's consistent and cool. And then they do this movie and right away they put blood in. So now he's
Mhm.
mortal because he
Now
has
he's human.
blood.
Yeah.
But then right away, Loomis's tone has changed. And I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. He's not human. Wait, what? He was
knew
human
that.
in the last movie. Or
Right.
why were you shooting him? And if he's not human, why is he bleeding?
Right.
This movie's a mess.
If it
guys.
bleeds, you can kill it.
If it bleeds, you can kill it. He's using the trees.
I just don't get. I mean, I know why it happened, right? We dudes just trying to hammer a movie out because they want a sequel and he doesn't want to do one. And it's just, man, the problem is if you look at this, like if you Friday the 13th Part 3'd right out of this movie, I mean, it would just be further and further. It'd just be Friday the 13th again. Like you just Friday Friday borrows a lot from Michael for the Jason in Part 2, but they go their own way and they kind of get a momentum and go. And I feel like the momentum they're setting up at the end of this is just like,
yeah. I mean,
do I want to go there?
They have all these established characters that you would care about if they get killed, and instead of building on that and using those people as the victims, they just do the Friday 13th thing and they introduce 6 or 7 new people.
Yep.
That are going to be the ones that are bumped off. We don't care about their character.
Red
we don't
shirts.
care about. Yeah, they're all a bunch of red shirts. And to me, that should not be part of the Halloween mentality. And if you are going to do that, then spend the first 45 minutes establishing these people, making me care, and then bump them off.
He's not a man. What? Since when? He was a kid like 2 hours ago in movie time. Why is he now a... Come on, Loomis. What the heck, dude?
I think you explained it perfectly when you said they have their cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
I mean, you can, but I'm going to complain about it.
I mean, they did.
It's been 40 years. I'm now complaining about it. By the way, this movie is 40 years old.
Holy shit.
Try not to think about that too hard. Oh, man. A couple of things that we need to just put out into the ether. Just for George's sake, we're going to plant some seeds for later maybe. And just some fun stuff. Guys, can we make fun of how bad Annie is at playing a dead body?
Annie.
The girl from the first one who gets the backhand weird reverse throat cut.
Yeah.
Brackett's daughter.
She gets wheeled out at the
She's breathing the whole time. Like, she's not holding her breath at all. Like, come on. I know you're married to the costumer or whatever, but can you just give me 20 seconds of...
Linda, I'm breathing again when they're wheeling me out. Ugh.
Yeah, we
Such
cut...
a whiner.
I cut a good chunk of our making fun of her acting from the first episode because, I mean, we were kind of mean. But, dude, hold your breath. Like, it's not that hard. And if you can't
She deserves it.
Have the director shoot from farther away so I can't see you breathing.
I don't think I made fun of her acting. I gave her kudos for her death. I thought it was awesome. I said I haven't seen anybody strangled that well in a movie ever.
Well, I think that was really Myers acting.
Yeah, I think he really was strangling her. But it's like she did an awesome job. I was complaining about her whining because she was way too old to talk like that. It was 15
minutes of the podcast that I cut out. Poor Annie. Maybe someday on Patreon I'll put the rest out. Now, one thing...
For only $5 a month, you can listen to us complain about Annie's acting.
We can make fun of all your favorite actors.
I'm going to work on my sales pitch.
Oh, man.
Hey, did you catch that Garth is in this movie, George?
Garth Brooks?
Garth I like
World.
to play.
I like make a mess.
No, I did not notice him.
He's the assistant of the news reporter at the beginning. He's dressed like Marty McFly. So next time you watch it, keep an eye out for a guy wearing one of those vest things with no sleeves.
Okay.
And it's Dana Carvey.
Oh, cool.
And the boombox from Jason Part 8 is in this movie, too.
Oh, yeah?
The kid's carrying it when he finds out when he's walking towards the hospital. And he sees that convenient sign that says... Haddonfield Memorial Hospital this way.
It's like they go to all this effort to actually put a pretty, I'm not going to say super clever, but like, not overly wrought reason for him to be able to figure out where she's at. And then they follow it up
him follow
with
the
the
ambulance.
sign. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? But like...
He already drives. We know he drives.
Yeah, why doesn't he drive in this one?
Why doesn't he steal the fucking ambulance? Change the movie completely.
But he's real good at disabling vehicles, which is strange.
Yeah.
Someone must have taught him while he was in here.
Now, I live near Haddonfield. I've never seen that sign that says Haddonfield Memorial Hospital this way. They wouldn't allow that signage, that town. They'd be like, yeah, no.
I have to say, I do a lot of work in Haddonfield, a lot of electrical work. This neighborhood looks like Haddonfield.
Oh, absolutely does, yeah.
Like, straight up.
Eventually, we're going to take a trip out to Pasadena, and we're going to stand at that hedge.
We're gonna measure
gonna
those
go to-
walls.
We're going to go to the house that exists. We're going to go to the Myers house. We're going to go to the hedge. We're going to go to the corner house and sit there with our pumpkin. We're
It's gonna
doing
be-
that
it's
shit.
gonna be
We're going to
fun.
live feed that shit.
It's gonna be fun.
It can be fun right there.
Now, a little thing for later. I'm not going to go into any detail on this, but Travis is going to know why I'm bringing this up. At the beginning of the movie, there's a girl on the phone when she finds out about the murders, and then Michael straight up just kills her for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a best choice Margot Kidder.
Hmm.
I think that's an intentional choice. I think they cast her for that reason. So,
Why would they do that? Or
I don't
is
know.
that going to come up? So we going to put a pin in that?
yeah, just a girl on the phone. Margot Kidder, what's up? Could be anything. Totally accidental.
Could be anything. Completely an accident. I hear you.
Follow the law. The law. Hey, so the opening credits, though, I know we were circling back to the beginning, but guys, that skull is kind of dope.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it's going to be a skull, and then it's a skull. Poops right out of that pumpkin.
I do like the jack-o'-lantern from the first movie.
Yeah, this one's kind of weak.
This kind of has a weird, goofy face, but the payoff's good.
I don't like the synth score, though, man. Not one bit.
When I was saying the score is good, I wasn't just talking about the movie. I was talking about the whole.
Throughout the movie,
All
it
the
works.
s-
Some
all
of
the
the synth
sounds.
works.
All
like
the sounds
that
work.
sound worked. Like a
Yeah.
lot of the synth worked, but yeah, I know the guy got praise for taking Carpenter's bones and turning it into that. It was more orchestrated. There was more instruments.
Yeah.
I liked it at parts, but a lot of it I didn't. I thought it was way too techy.
We go back and forth on how we approach these movies because, like with the failsafe Doctor Strangelove thing, there are opportunities for us to like correct history, right? We can fix things in our show that aren't right in the real world. One thing that I didn't take into account because I wanted you to see how like well, but also kind of half-assed they started right at the beginning of the last movie. The thing I didn't take into account, because I did the same thing to myself, watched part 1 last night, part 2 today. It is jarring to hear, like, especially the music difference so close together. And, like, the first one is so satisfying, and the second one is so meh, that, like, I might have accidentally put you in a precarious position. It might have been better if I just said, George, it's been a year, don't watch Halloween. So you'd get a closer experience to the audience at the time who doesn't have Halloween on VHS, hasn't seen Halloween in 2 or 3 years. I wonder if that would have given you a more like genuine 1981 experience.
Well, you fucked up.
But you missed the 7 shots, so we all fucked up.
Yeah.
And I fell asleep during Deep Red, so yes, we all.
Yeah, and I didn't think
Deep
that
Red
the
is so
score
good.
was bad anyway, even with watching the first one first and then watching the second one. So it mattered not.
I kind of wish I watched Deep Red a while ago because I caught a Scream reference in Deep Red.
Oh yeah, what was it?
The psychic woman.
Okay.
How she
Oh,
interacts with the killer.
that's interesting. That's
It was
interesting.
very, very reminiscent of the opening scene of Scream. She's on the phone. She's got the blonde wig.
I mean, that's
Or
really
blonde hair.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
when
a-
I was watching, I was like, this really has a Scream feel. I wonder if they did an homage to Deep Red in Scream, and we didn't even know it.
Moral of the story, guys, is watch all the Argentos real quick because they're awesome. And they might come up later and you can be like, hey, I remember this from when Argento did it. And Bava. Watch some Bava.
I don't want to put words in Travis's mouth, but I think that he would agree that lots of stuff was borrowed, but I don't think that he would agree that all this is great.
My issue with the Jollies isn't the stories.
It's never the stories.
No,
Stories
my
are good.
issue that I cannot get past is the acting and the corny dialogue. I can't.
And the underwhelming animals.
Oh, the bee.
Yeah,
Why
no.
is it not a wasp? It could just be a paper wasp, and I give you more credit. It's a bee. And that's not a
But,
tarantula.
no,
It's like a little spider.
Story-wise, I don't hate them. It's just the
plumage on the
execution-
bird
yeah.
wasn't even close to crystal. It was like a gray bird.
Guys, worst news, Cat O' Nine Tails. I don't even think there's a single cat in the movie.
cat in it.
Oh, jeez Louise.
Right?
Prime example. The woman that he arm wrestles.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great character.
Wonderful actress.
Couldn't stand her.
What?
Delivery of lines. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, I'm
Mhm,
sure
Yeah.
the character, the story worked, the character works, but her delivery was so...
She's no Sharon Stone.
She's no Sharon Stone.
Well, she's
Right.
dubbed, so it's not her anyway. Guys,
I understand that.
you need to watch these movies in Italian and just get over the
Nah.
subtitles thing. Because then you don't have
I
to.
was watching with
listen,
subtitles because I couldn't hear what they were saying
I'm
even
not-
in English.
I'm not against subtitles. I'm not. But I think that even
They were fast. Like, I'm reading and trying to look up, and I'm like, holy shit, I just missed everything you just said.
oh yeah, sometimes that
Yeah.
happens, but you gotta
Leave it on screen a little bit.
still a little
Let it
rewind.
marinate.
A little rewind if you miss something. But what Troy was saying, right? Troy,
Yeah.
Friend of the show,
Troy,
Troy Howard.
Troy.
Yeah, don't hate
Troy
me, Troy. I'm
Howard,
still
great
learning.
guy.
I'm still learning.
What he was saying was that a lot of times they do all of this acting and video shooting, and then they dub everything anyway.
Mhm.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I just think that method sucks.
Yeah, it's not a good thing.
It really sucks.
But
It
it's
didn't work for
cheap.
Japan.
Like
It's
I
so
know,
cheap.
I know that like, holding a boom mic for that long is like a lot of work, but like it's really worth it.
I'll give $500 a week to a boom mic guy just to make these movies better.
I give him $500 a day.
I think the
Wow,
problem
how's
isn't
that?
the boom mic. I think the problem is the fact that they don't have like well-built studios. So even with a boom mic, it would still sound like I was doing this podcast in the middle of traffic.
Hmm. It's a shame because I think it doesn't suffer to the diehard fans, but it does turn off some people that might not
I
be able
think
to look past that
I
stuff.
think that when you're used to Hollywood, Jolly's just the quality just doesn't cut it for you.
You have to want it. It's
Yeah.
not going to be there. It's not a low-hanging fruit, right? It doesn't present itself in a way that you'll be walking by it and be engrossed right away. You have to put a little work in on the front end, but the payoff is great. And they're
But
just
it's not even really a hatred for like I have the same problem when watching Hammer films. Like there's just something about the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, the acting style, whether it's Italy, whether it's America, whether it's Australia, if it's porn, if it's kids shows, it doesn't matter. There's something about the delivery of lines that is different. And it's the same way when you watch like Disney actors. They're taught a certain way. It's almost like watching theater up close. Like they're taught
Yeah,
to over enunciate everything.
and that's why
And it's
every
like,
Disney show
I
sucks.
Instead of saying, he came up to me and he yelled at me. Like that's the line. The kid
Yeah.
in Disney is going, and he came up to me and he yelled at me. And it's like, okay.
Like,
tone it down.
okay, Drake,
Just a little bit. Yeah. Just
All right, Josh.
simmer down now.
just chill out.
There's no guy in the back of the room. You're on my TV and I can see your pores. Like just slow down.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way about the acting in the Jolly. It's like, yeah, I'm supposed to feel this way, and you're like you said, you're leading me with the way whether it's a laugh track or whatever, you're leading me to laugh. These people are trying to lead me to terror or lead me to suspicion.
It's very insulting.
And they're doing it in an obnoxious way, and it turns me off.
It's insulting to my intelligence.
And I know it has a lot to do with the dubbing, because I have the same problem with a lot of the spaghetti westerns. Like it's just overacting, and it doesn't sit well with me, but it doesn't mean it's bad.
Yeah, fair enough. I like that you at least admitted that the stories are good.
Yeah.
Because I tend to agree. And I think that Dan's right too. Like,
And the film work is good.
you have
'cause
to-
It's obviously being borrowed and used and
Yeah.
inspired.
yeah.
It's-
I
So
think
I get it.
I think Dan's right. Like, you can't you gotta want it. You gotta like want to like it and like get into it. I mean, I don't know. I think the story is the most important thing.
Right.
And then I think the visual is the second most important thing. And so the Jollies generally have both of those generally, except for when it comes to the animals.
The good one, the ones I've shown you are the good ones. In
Everyone
terms
I've
of
watched-
cinematography and stuff like that.
I've liked the imagery. I've liked, other than a lot of the blood is ugh. But
It looks
I
like
like the
Halloween 2
imagery.
blood.
The
Oh,
blood and
oh my
the what do they call that, like B-roll footage or whatever, like just footage that they borrow.
Oh yeah.
Like that's always terrible.
I enjoy some of the characters, but it's just, to me, I'm the kind of I love acting, and if that's bad, it takes me out of it.
I hear you.
So I even if I want, I equate it to like opera or Shakespeare. Like, you watch good Shakespeare, it makes you want to cry.
Yeah.
But if it's done bad, you want to cry.
It also makes you want to cry.
You know? And it's the same thing with an opera. You can watch something and not understand a word they're saying, but know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
But if it's bad opera, improv's the same way. Good improv, you want to watch it for 10 hours. But bad improv, you want to get up 5 minutes into it.
You want to stab yourself in the eye with a hanger.
Yeah. And no one was expecting it.
Yes, and yikes. Hey,
Yes, and yikes.
that's the rule of improv, right? Yes, and.
Yes.
Oh, we're doing this? Yes. And
Yes.
here's my addition to make it better.
yes.
Your
never
stupid
say no.
idea that I'm not saying no to. I'm instead just going to say yes. I
Yes.
get improv. Speaking of improv, George, are you ready for week number 2 of your 2021 fall break?
Yes, and
Where do
Although
we
he did watch 3 movies this week.
Where do we go from here, George? We've watched Halloween and Halloween 2.
I think I already mentioned it.
Oh,
Michael Goes to Hell.
Halloween.
It's the only
It's
logical.
the one where he jumps bodies.
it's
Halloween.
the only logical progression from here. I
Halloween
think.
3. Michael Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
No. No. As I said earlier, this show gives us an opportunity to correct history. The Halloween timeline, we'll go into it more as the fall break goes on. Where Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street have a momentum, and they may not always know where they're going, but they know where they've been, and so they kind of figure it out as they go.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween movies didn't ever establish that kind of momentum. So your next movie is Halloween H2O from 1998, the 20th anniversary
20th anniversary.
of
20 years
1978.
later.
20th anniversary.
out in
So I'm not
98?
watching 3.
You are watching 7. Halloween 7.
Oh my god. There's that many Halloweens?
There are going to be 13 Halloweens next year. They're going to beat Friday the 13th to number 13. Isn't that hilarious?
That's a shame.
But that's cheating, because some of them really are reboots
But yeah,
and stuff. So it's not like
there's a lot of
13
weirdness going on. But there
Yeah.
are 12 as of this
They're
October.
not in succession, let's put it that way.
in a couple of
Okay.
This episode launches October 6th, so like a week and a half from when people are listening to this episode, there's a Halloween, the 12th Halloween movie. But
Releasing, yeah.
we are going to watch Halloween 7, H2O.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you for joining us on the first edition of the 2021 Fall Break with the Remedial Film Class Podcast. As always, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Remedial Film Pod. You can find us at facebook.com/Remedial Film Pod. You can view that meme on our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Remedial Film Pod. And of course, if you are listening to this on a standard podcast app, you can find us also on YouTube. And heck, if you're listening to this on YouTube, we're also available on every podcatcher, podcast, RSS feed app you can think of. Join us next week as we watch the third movie in the original Laurie Strode trilogy, Halloween H2O.